we remember that Advent, just as a reminder, is a time of preparation for us as Christians before December 25th, which is the date that we celebrate as Christmas. I know you hear a lot of people talk about, well, that's really not the date. What difference does it make? As long as we all agree on one date to come together and acknowledge Him, there's no sense in splitting hairs. So December 25th seems to be the date, so I go with it rather than some other date. But it's a time that we recognize that God loved us so much that He was willing to send His Son into this world that He might give us life, and that He might give us life more abundantly. Notice the word, abundantly, the Bible says. It's a time of spiritual preparation, anticipation, looking for God in many places, and sometimes looking for God in even unusual places. There's a favorite hymn of mine, For the Beauty of the Earth. Do you know that? You know that song, I'm sure, For the Beauty of the Earth. Last night, was it last night or the night before, the moon was just so beautiful. There was a glow around it. I mean, it was just beautiful. How wonderful God has made this beautiful earth. And how that we should be good stewards of this earth of ours. God has truly been good to us. We read about the shepherds that night. They came to the manger and they knelt down before Him. The shepherds were lowly in status. They took care of somebody else's sheep, made sure the wolves didn't get it or somebody didn't rustle the sheep, made sure they didn't go over a cliff or break their leg or whatever, keep them out of harm's way. These shepherds heard the call and responded to that call to come to the manger and worship God in the person of Jesus Christ incarnate. We sometimes get the feeling that the manger was a busy place with the three wise men bumping into the shepherds at the manger, but we know that that's not so. That the wise men saw the star that day and then started their trip. So it took them quite a while to reach Bethlehem. By that time, the scriptures tell us that Jesus was in a house. They didn't have airplanes back then or a train, so they had to go by camel. Now I've never ridden a camel, but I don't imagine it's a rapid express. So they were a while getting there. Now, we say three wise men because of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Could have been more than three wise men. The Bible doesn't say, it just says wise men. It doesn't say three. We assume it's three by the three gifts. But you know, gold and all these things, they were pretty expensive, so maybe they went in together to do that gift. So, and I want you to know how they came to these very learned men, astrologers, it's thought, from the country of Iran or Persia. They came. They were the most learned of their day, upper class, well-to-do financially. So here you have the learned, well-to-do coming to worship the King of Kings, being born in the humble barn, a stable with straw. And then you have the modest shepherds coming to worship Him as well. So it speaks to us that God is not a respecter of persons. He loves the ignorant. He loves the learned. He loves the poor. He loves the wealthy. He loves Everyone. One of my members said to me once, God must love the poor because he made so many of them. A lot of truth to that God does love the poor. And you know, he uses example of the widow's mite. And he uses examples of how we are to not take advantage of the poor, that we are to help the poor. And many illustrations, they're very poor people. I want you to notice too how God uses situations and then responds to that situation. Now the gold and the frankincense and the myrrh were expensive gifts. I mean, like real expensive. That, in all probability, financed Jesus, Mary, and Joseph's flight to Egypt. See how God used that? Remember King Herod wanted to kill all the male babies, firstborn, born within a certain time. So they had this money for the flight to Egypt to get out of Herod's way until his rule ended so they could come back. God is in control of things back then and in control of things now. He uses things that happen to us as learning lessons so that we will be better people because of it. If you let the negative things in your life benefit you, you will be a much better person. For instance, on my trip, we were in northern Minnesota at the Lake of the Woods, and I was just traveling down the road going 75 in a 55-mile-an-hour road. It was a backwoods, you know, nobody up there. Well, wouldn't you know, there was a police car coming the other way. And I thought, oh, the party's over, you know, so she turns around and the lights go on and she stops. She wants my registration and she checks the registration against the VIN number, which I've never had that happen before. I've never had that happen. She checked my license plate, the front plate, the back plate, and she checked everything she could check and chewed me out because I had a Clark Knapp sign around my plate. Well, the law is, and it's a law in Texas as well, they're not supposed to be obstructed. And she said that has to come off. And I told her I would, and I did. As soon as I came home, I thought, in case I'm ever back there, I'm not going to give her an excuse to stop me again. So I took it off. She was ex-military, by the way, because she was in El Paso, and she acted like an ex-military as well, being very thorough and trying to get me on everything she could get me. So I thought afterwards, you know, I'm glad this happened, because traveling at 75 miles an hour is not very bright, because a tire could go out. I don't know if there's a defect in one of my tires, and if you're going 75 miles an hour, I could roll the car over and I'd be playing a harp somewhere up there. Not somewhere, up there. I could be playing a harp, or I could hurt somebody else. You know, being in this lane and the tire blows out and maybe hurting the person next to me. So I went 55 miles an hour for the rest of the trip. And this was the beginning of the trip. So I thought, you know, I am going to learn from this, and I'm going to do something I should have done all along, and that is observe the speed limit. So I learned from it. And I did go the speed limit, and many times we'd pass these cars, you know, the radar guy, you're not getting me, I'm going the speed limit, you know. And as a byproduct of that, when you go 55 miles an hour, you get much better gas mileage than when you go 75. So there's even a upside, economic side of that. So it was really a wonderful thing. So if we learn from our lessons, the negative things that happen in our lives, we will benefit rather than just curse the situation and go on. So learn from your mistakes. You will be a much, much better person. God gave us the greatest gift He could give to mankind, and that was His Son, Jesus Christ. And as a result of that, that's how I suspect we give gifts at Christmas time to one another, our family members, and everyone else. Gift giving is a wonderful thing, and it's a thing that we love to do. Well, I want to give you the greatest gift I can give you during this phase of your journey in the church, which is you're building a church. You're building a church. This is one of the most stressful times a church can ever experience. Matter of fact, it is the most stressful time a church that can experience. I thought, this is my swan song. They can't ask me not to come back because I'm not coming back anyway. So I'm going to talk to them like a Dutch uncle. Do you know what that means? Somebody talks to you like a Dutch uncle? Anybody know what that means? Okay. It means you're very frank, very blunt. Because I've experienced going through this, and the greatest gift you can give one another is being understanding during this time. Because everyone considers themselves a decorator. Everyone considers themselves an architect. And when you're in the room with all these people that have their own ideas, and they're not willing to give, frictions begins. And that shouldn't be. So the greatest gift you can give each other, the greatest gift you can give your pastor, the greatest gift you can give the church, which is Jesus Christ, is understanding and be willing to let go if you don't get your way. Don't always have to get your way. I want to give you an example of what I'm talking about. That when I went to mission, the church hadn't been painted in probably 30 years. The interiors are green, just like this, and had been patched and stuff, and it really needed it. And I said, we are going to remodel this sanctuary, but we're going to do it on a pay-as-you-go basis. So we got bids for the pews. They would be taken out, they were to be sanded and re-lacquered and finished and stained, because over the years, you know how the church was built around 1930, so those pews are pretty well used. So we got bids. One person was to get a bid, and they did. It was $100 a pew. The second person got a bid from another company, $200 a pew. Well, when people work with these other people, they get ownership. They get to like the merchant. The merchant's nice to them, and they're important because they're bringing them business, and they get ownership in the decisions that they make. Well, we had a meeting, and each one of us bought a pew. We paid for it. My wife and I paid for one. So we had a meeting. Which do we go with, the 99 or the 200? Well, of course, most of us wanted the 99 since it was coming out of our pockets. And the lady that had the $200, she was angry. She was angry. They cannot be any good. You can't do it good for $200 or $100, and the quality won't be there, and we should go with the 200. And I said, well, if I can get by with it, I'd much rather go 100 than I would 200. But why don't we call this company for 99, since you're questioning the quality of their work, and ask them for customers that they had, and that we can go and look at it, determine whether it's quality work or not, come back, we'll take it from there. So I called them, and they said, sure, we just got through doing the work at Cimarron Country Club. All right. So I called the man at Cimarron, the head of maintenance, and I said, how was their work? He said it was very good. And I said, well, can I come by and look at it? And he said, yeah, if you want to look at it without leaving your car. They did the 2 front doors in our church, take the circular driveway, stop, look at it, and you can zoom on out. So I did. Going the speed limit, though. I zoomed out. So their work was wonderful. Their work was just fine. And if Cimarron was happy with it, I thought we should be too. So I went back, and of course, we went with the $99 pews. But the other lady was very upset over that. And not only did they do that, they, for free, did the music stands. We had 2 music stands. They did that for free. They reupholstered all of our pulpit furniture. We had like red leather, maroon, and they put red crushed velvet for free. And they really did a lot of things for us that they did not have to do. But you see how people get ownership even when it's double the price? So don't let that happen here. Be willing to think, okay, I'm one person. I'm willing to, let's take a vote on it. If I lose, that's okay. This is a country. I mean, a country we're a democracy in this country. This is how we operate. We vote for our president. We should support the president no matter who he is. We voted. We had our say, and now let us get to work and support whoever it is. And in the church, it's the same way. Let's vote on an issue. Let's let go if it doesn't go our way. We had another thing. We bought two companies of books, hymn books. And we picked the hymn book. We let the organist pick which book that the songs we knew the most. In other words, the book that had the most songs we knew, that was the book we wanted. So we let her do that. And she did. Well, then you had the color of the book. It could be green or it could be red. Oh, wouldn't you know? We had a thing over that. That one of them wanted it green and one of them wanted it red. And so we had an issue over that, and we voted on that. And I think they're red. Are they not, Kathy? Are they red? Okay. They were red. Green would have been all right too, because it's a nice color. It's a nice color, green. But it reminds me of a small town where they were building a church, and this guy in this small town, he was a bootlegger. And he wanted to donate money to the church, and in memory of his beloved mother. And so he told someone in the church, and they told the preacher, so this bootlegger wants to give us $50,000. Well, the elders were upset over that. Well, he's a bootlegger, and who knows what else goes on. We cannot accept that tainted money. They had a preacher, he was an old preacher, a lot of years of experience. And he said in the elders meeting, he said, brothers and sisters, I think we should take that money. Why? It's a bootlegger. We can't take that tainted money. And he said, let me tell you something. The devil's had that money long enough. Well, if there's any bootleggers here and you want to give us $50,000, the devil's had that money long enough. We're going to take it. I hope. I could go on, but I'm not. Because it's almost time for the church service to end. But my parting words is there's going to be many stressful times about a church. You've got shrubbery, you've got the exterior, you've got the interior. Get along, and if it's an issue that, and I'm not saying you won't, but if an issue comes up, vote on it. And then be big enough to accept the vote. Whatever the vote is, accept it. It's a red book, or if it's a green book, color, who cares, you know, as long as you got the book. So that is something, and I'm not kidding about it being a very stressful time. It really is. So that's why I decided that I would work this in as giving gifts to each other, is getting along, giving gifts to the preacher so he doesn't have to experience this, and most of all, gifts to Christ, that the church may grow and prosper under his divine guidance. Amen. We're going to sing our hymn of invitation. If there's anyone here that wishes to play